All right, ladies and gentlemen, I am live with my man Bruce from Legendary Foods. Bruce, how are you, sir?
Thank you very much. I'm great in sunny Southern California.
That's what we like to hear. It is beautiful out there in California. I used to live in San Diego, and we'll talk about that a little bit more as we move forward. Legendary Foods is making some legendary moves. Let's talk about how you guys kind of came into the supplement industry a few years ago where everyone wants to be eating more protein. It's the hot topic. And we actually shared the stage or have a bunch of times with Gabrielle Lyon at Bedros' event, who is talking heavily about dietary protein. And I'm in my 40s now. I need to be eating my protein. And I think that you and I, being entrepreneurs, think a lot differently than just the regular population. And I think people take that the wrong way when you say that. But entrepreneurs, business owners, and innovators create the trends that everybody else follows. And that's what you guys are doing. So explain to me how you wanted to take healthy protein and bodybuilder style food and make it fun for everybody to eat.
Well, I tell you, if I unwound a little bit, it started at Quest Nutrition, which you knew that's where I started.
Yep.
There it was more protein bars. And don't get me wrong, it was a phenomenal company. We sold that company after 7 years for $1 billion cash. So that's no short feat.
Yep.
But we started Legendary immediately. And what we figured out with a whole new team, everyone else left or retired, we figured out with Legendary, it's more appealing food for everyday people. Like we started out with the, people call them Pop-Tarts, but protein pastries. We got the sweet rolls, which are like Cinnabons. We've got chips. And now we just launched this past week, which you should be getting them today, probably delivered, are little 2-pack donuts, 2 in a pack, and everything's protein filled. But it reminds me of when I used to buy those little sleeves of donuts when I was a kid, you know, with like the 5 donuts.
Mm-hmm.
So at Legendary, we're making foods more relatable to people so they can, as opposed to, oh gosh, another protein bar. It's like, oh, I could eat that. And it's done phenomenally with kids so far. Like moms are tricking their kids into eating these pastries with 20 grams of protein.
Yeah, it's amazing. My kids have started to eat a lot more protein, from Greek yogurt that doesn't have a bunch of added sugar in it to, you know, stuff like the Legendary Food stuff. And I find it very interesting that the more they eat of that, the less they want of everything else.
Yeah. Protein inherently will fill you up, and it's a great filler. And obviously, people like Gabrielle Lyons, it's now become a buzzword. Just like we've gone through trends, there was low carb and, you know, keto, but protein has always been, our body is built on protein.
Mm-hmm.
And you'd be surprised how many people, there's a formula. They say you should get 1 gram of protein for every pound of body weight. Average, maybe a little bit. Most people don't accomplish that in a day.
Not even close.
Not even close. Yeah, I have girlfriends of mine will say, I had a little shredded chicken on my salad at lunchtime. Okay, that's 19 grams. Where's the rest?
19 grams out of like 150 to 200.
Yeah. So,
and I think that that's important too, is this is an uncomfortable topic for people. And I think that's why only people thinking in an elite way would even approach this topic, because they're trying to make themselves better. Most people are just happy with what they got. They're good with the job. They're good with whatever they've got in life, and they're not trying to actively improve. And then they get down the line and they realize it's too far. I'm guilty of this too, folks. So if you know anybody that's gone down the line with like booze or smoking weed every day or being an idiot in bar corners, I made it a long way doing that. 15 years driving all over the country, but eventually those bad decisions got me DUIs, got me in trouble, and I had to pivot. And so my point in knowing all these things, because I've gotten my butt beat, as I'm sure you have, being an entrepreneur or a dream chaser or brand builder or whatever, is that those pivot points are what makes people great or makes people like recoil and recluse into a corner. What were some of those moments for you as an entrepreneur? Because, I mean, you mentioned Quest. They sold for all this big money. You're talking Legendary brands. They're everywhere now. So everybody probably looks at you and they're like, oh, this guy, he made it.
Well, you know, I will tell you this, even unwind a little bit, even before Quest, I had a very successful bodyguard protection business. And what I didn't know about, all I knew is I had these relationships. Mm-hmm. All these studio heads, they'd call me and hire me. And I knew nothing about finance. I knew nothing about the back end of a business. And really quick, one day, my bookkeeper, which was a key indicator, I had a bookkeeper, a lovely lady who worked from home, would write payroll checks and mail them out. She called me one day on a Monday and said, "Hey, Bruce, your payroll is due Friday and it's $75,000 and you have 25 in the bank." I said, "Well, how's that work?" And she said, "You've got a lot of outstanding debt. A lot of people owe you money, a lot." And I started ringing the phone and collecting money, but it was an immediate wake up call that I almost went out of business that week because I almost didn't have enough money to cover payroll, which then people just leave you and quit. I realized I was a great in front guy selling, but I knew nothing about the back end. And a lot of people, I've met so many people that have had successful businesses doing multiple million dollars, and they close because they don't know how to manage money. They think, I've got $1 million in the bank, so I'm going to spend $1 million. So I learned a lot of those things early on, and that helped me. And even at Quest, even though it seemed really great in the media, we had some hiccups. When we first launched the bars, we got a recall because they were getting hard very quickly. And we had to recredit a lot of people.
Oh, let me tell you, the early Quest bars were hard.
Yeah. No.
It doesn't mean they weren't good bars. I mean, they're protein bars, but they've gotten the whole entire industry has improved immensely in the last 10 years.
Yeah. And we did a formulation change with our fiber. Here's the crazy thing. We were at the peak of our success, $400 million in sales a year. And we discovered our fiber source was not accurate. And there's nothing worse than having fake claims on your list. So we changed the fiber source. But what happened was you had a couple influencers, and a couple big ones said, they flipped it over and said, because they felt it tasted different. And they attacked us. They said, look at these guys. They cheapen their ingredients because now they're rich. And that's all people heard. So we took a hit of 15% in sales at $400 million. Do the math. That's a big hit. So we recovered. We sent out 700,000 samples of bars to all our customers and clients and everyone, consumers. But my point is, it was not an easy road. Like, there was a lot of hiccups and hurdles and challenges along the way. And then we finally got some great velocity. And the same thing with Legendary. We started out just with nut butters and seasoned nuts, and I literally remember feeling like, God, we're starting over again. We sold Quest, and Ron, the founder of Quest, got a small group of us together and say, "Hey, I came up with this name, Legendary Foods." I remember we met at this little cafe in West LA. He said, "I need to remind you guys, though, we're starting out, we're poor. We're starting from scratch. There's no paydays. We're starting from ground zero." And I remember going to Pasadena 3 times a week and making nut butters by hand in these big vats, putting on lab coats and roasting nuts. And a lot of people don't realize when you start a company and a business, there's shit needs to be done that people do not want to do.
Yep.
I think a lot of people think, okay, I'm going to start a company. I'm going to hire a bunch of people to do all the labor and layman, whatever. And they don't realize you can't afford to do that.
Nope.
You have to. So we were making the nut butters by hand, the seasoned nuts by hand, no outside help, until we got to the point where we could go to a commercial company and commercialize it. But that's one fatal mistake people make in the food and beverage industry specifically. They think, I'm going to pay someone to do all this, and when it doesn't work, you're done. You're out of business.
Yeah, I think that's really good what you said, because so many times we see these folks on social media saying, if you're working in your business and you're working on your business and with your business people, then you don't have a business. And it's like, all right, well, hold on here, buddy. Okay. Yeah. The idea that, and that's why I always want to be careful about regular folks. Listen, dude, regular folks want to work a 9 to 5 and go home and sleep with their wife and go to bed and have weekends off. I have no problem with that. I hire people like that, and they work Monday through Friday. They edit for our team, and I give them the weekends off. They're great.
Many of my friends live that lifestyle.
They are wonderful. Envious, We've always been prepared. We post 7 days a week for people. We have to work 7 days a week. That's how our business works. Social media never closes. But it's just like, but I have to work on Saturday and Sunday, so those guys still have a job on Monday.
Right.
I got to set, like we were talking, I've been so busy with actually filming, editing, and posting people's videos. I haven't really had time to launch a mastermind. I'm like trying to like launch my mastermind. And it's like, dude, this mastermind thing's just a big master pain in my ass. I have a company to run.
Right.
I have a business to run. We have people that are calling us. You know, we got people with millions of followers. They want their edits done next week now. They need to be prepared now for next week when people see them. I don't think people anticipate success. They think they're going to wake up and put in one day of work and they're going to sell like Quest. Or they're going to go in, they're going to film one video and they're going to be Logan Paul. Or they're going to go train MMA one time and they're going to be a jiu-jitsu champion. And it doesn't work like that.
Right. And I think also, I mean, we're all aware of this. Social media does not do justice for young entrepreneurs.
No.
Because you see the guy, the Lamborghini at the Four Seasons and whatever portray they want to give, then these young guys or girls think, oh, I when do I get that? When's that happen? It's almost a world of instant gratification. And I've met now, because I'm helping people. One of my goals in life is to help people succeed in business. And I've met with some pretty young entrepreneurs, and their perception is not reality. They're like I won't sidetrack too much, but I just talked to these two kids. They go to UCLA.
Yep.
They have a protein snack. It's like a Cheeto, kind of spicy. And I said, you might have something here. I don't know. It seems pretty good. I said, how much money have you, because so the conversation, we're raising money, and they wanted to sound really intelligent, Series A. And I said, how much money have you guys put into the company? You two kids.
Right.
5,000. I said, is that 5,000 a month? Is that No, 5,000 total. But right now we're raising money with friends and family. And I said, you know what that means to me? Once you get some money from your friends and family and you fail, they will no longer be your friends and family. They'll be my son who I waste, you know what I mean? Because that's what
I
happens.
think that's so important. Yeah, you need to, anybody who's out there, you have to have some kind of service or product to sell people. And I think people get confused there.
Yeah, and you need to have skin in the game. Like $5,000 is cute, but I said to him, that's not real money, man. And you're now asking other people to risk on this product because you don't want to take a risk. So, and you're right. If you have a product or a service, I will tell you, this is an analogy I've learned over years. If people like you, they're going to listen, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like people like you, they will at least listen to what you say. But if they trust you, they're going to buy. They may buy one time and see where it goes. But more importantly, and this is so important for anyone in a consumable or even the service industry, if you transform their lives, and that includes your business, if you transform someone's lives, a client's life, they're going to tell 10 people, they're going to go to the highest mountaintops and say, wow, Pat's reformulated my company with social media. Oh, Bruce has directed me in the right direction and his product's amazing. But people miss those steps. People have to like you, trust you, and then you have to change their lives. And changing you could be a trainer, you could be a jiu-jitsu. Changing lives means a lot of things to a lot of people. At Quest, it was easy because people would write us on these blogs and say, literally use these words, and I could get emotional thinking about it. I had gastric bypass surgery, and I'm able to eat your bars. I've got diabetes, my blood sugar doesn't spike. I lost 30 pounds over the last 4 months eating your stuff instead of Haagen-Dazs at night. And people started saying, you literally you've saved our lives. So we went from really being a protein bar company to a mission-based company. It was more of a mission. Like when you see people send you before and afters and they say, I can give 95% of the success to eating Quest, you're like, holy shit, like really? So
I love that, dude. And that's why we were talking beforehand here, and you were like, yes, yeah, so blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, honestly, we bought this house 11 years ago. I was singing at the Carlsbad Farmers Market with my guitar, homeless, living in my van, trying to get discovered. And then in 2017, the Cardenas found one of my funny song videos for Grant. And then I played their event in 2018, and it took us 7 years to get social media clients, prove our system, update people's pages every single day for years and years and years to get to a point where it's like, yes, we have a product and a service that people can trust. And we appeal. Here's what I've realized too. We appeal to people that are already doing business at a high level. And so I think for us with this idea of, I want to run a mastermind or I want to train people or whatever it's not necessarily that I want to be a coach, because I have no desire to be anyone's coach. But
Right.
if I can train people to communicate better on their phone, I think I can help people make videos quicker, faster, and easier with zero budget, and then they'll become my client anyway. And so
Makes
now
sense,
I
yes.
feel like almost like the mastermind, the training, the this and that stuff, I should just give it away on YouTube. Here's how to get a script. Here's how to nail it into your phone, and either post it or learn how to edit. But I think that when people get to a point where they're going to do it every day, they're going to be like, I don't want to do this every day. I'd rather
Right,
have
yeah.
Pat just film me once a month. All right. Well, now we're talking. So I think that by
Absolutely.
gatekeeping, we're actually gatekeeping ourselves from a whole nother tier of clientele. And this is something I brought up because you do this really well, of giving people a taste so that they become customers. Explain how you're able to do that yourself as well.
Well, specifically with Quest, and we figured this out early on, we would give someone a whole bar, a complete bar. Most expos you go to, they're chopped up. And this is my standard practice now. If I run into you at the gym, hey, Pat, great to see you. Hey, by the way, can I share? I will give you a pack, or whether it's a pastry, and I will give you a second one and say, hey, this is for your wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, kids, whatever. And yes, if I did the math, for sure. Let's say it cost us $5 to give you 2 pieces of product. If you want to build a multi-million-dollar brand or even $1 billion brand, you've got to get product in people's hands. You don't know how many people I talk to that say, I can't afford to give away samples. And my first response is, you can't afford not to. How are people, and it's a proven fact, and you can't outmarket a bad product. You could spend millions of dollars. If your product is subpar, people, you'll get a customer one time. I saw all the ads that,
And then they'll tell everybody that it sucks.
they either tell people it sucks or they just try and throw it away and you'll never hear from them again.
Right.
So you can't outmarket a bad product. You just need to get product and people. And sometimes it sounds a little boring. I have challenges when I talk to marketing people because everyone wants to think about the next greatest thing, whether it's a music video or do something cool and hot air balloons. And I said, listen, at the end of the day, if you have a product, a protein bar, cookie, candy, or a drink, you need to get it to people's hands and they have to try it and then say, that's freaking phenomenal. Let me go buy some. There's no magic trick. And I don't think it's any different in your industry.
No, it's not.
Hey, Pat, we'll retain you for X amount of time. And they're going to say, wow, this guy changed my life, or it was okay.
Yeah.
And then it's going to parlay. And that's just how it is. So I say this, if you have a product or a service, it's the same to me.
I love that.
I go to a gym. It's like an Equinox here in LA sometimes. I would go in and the trainers, God bless them, but they'd always be looking at their phone if they had downtime. They never really made eye contact with anyone. And I knew they got paid by hustling. And finally, one guy approached me. He kept seeing me work out. And he said, man, you look like you're a strong guy. I said, I don't know if I could bring you value, but I'd love to. Can I run you through a session one time? I said, yeah, how about Friday? Let me work out for free. Changed my life. I was doing stuff we normally wouldn't do, one-legged this and, weird stuff, core stuff. And I retained him for 2 years and I paid him a lot of money. But because he approached me and said, I have a service, can I at least let you try it for an hour? And if you like it, and we're best friends.
Yeah,
most people
that's good. I think that what we need to do is we need to supply people with, the script system so that they can come up with some scripts and then show them how to film and how to edit and how to post. Because it's a 4-step process, but it's such a pain in the ass. And you know this, you make
painful
content. To do that on a consistent level without any help. Even I have to have a team edit and post my stuff. And now our team is so busy that for me to even stop and teach people that aren't on the same gear or that we're on or same highway that we're on, it almost slows the whole company down.
Right. I bet.
You know what I mean? So I'm like kind of caught between. I'm like, I think there's another clientele here at like a different price point, but are those really even my customers anyway? Or should we just continue to be the elite people? And we're going to have to be the elite people. And we're going to have to teach those people that if you have no budget like I did, then you can get Grant Cardone and Gary Vee's attention with your phone. Here's how. And if you need help, we can help you.
Yeah.
Because I think there's too many people trying to sell this magical viral formula too. I see it all over my feed. Here's the magical viral formula. You need a good hook. It's like, no shit.
Right.
We know Don't Stop Believing, Living on a Prayer, Eye of the Tiger. They're all great hooks. That's why people love those songs. But that kind of content, everybody knows that. But at the same time, you need sales. So if you're hooking people into something that pulls them out of your conversion process by talking about whatever some of these people talk about, what they ate at Chipotle or what they order at Panda Express, unless that directly goes into here's how to hit your macros, and I'm a fitness trainer, or that goes into here's how you can be pumped up for a recording session when you're on the road, you still have to formulate how does that convert to dollars.
Exactly.
And so how do you guys do that with your social media pages? How do you focus on taking the user experience and turning it into almost like it sells itself?
I tell you, we just had a 4-hour meeting, which was painful because it was forever really deciding what the future holds with social media and marketing. And because we keep concluding that we have to get product in people's hands.
Yep.
There is no with our product, there's no magic pill. Either you like it or you don't, and it's not for everybody. So we've did this.
I love that. You either like it or you don't, and we're not for everybody.
Yeah. And so 9-10 years ago, we started launching these kits. Like when a flavor would come out, we'd put them in a cool box with a personalized note and send it. So this most recent with the donuts, I think we sent out 2,000 packages to macro influencers, micro influencers, whatever, just people, friends of ours.
Yep.
And they really did the heavy lifting for us because and it's a cool pink box. But I had people like Jay Cutler, 4-time Mr. Olympia. I had Michael O'Hearn, Gabrielle Lyons, Bedros Koulian actually doing a box opening in their office saying, "Oh man, thanks a lot, Bruce. Thanks a lot, Legendary," for a couple donuts. But it's because of the relationships we've established. It's not like I didn't just reach out to Jay. We're personal friends. But so my point is, that's kind of been some magic for us because these friends of ours they want to talk about it. Because
I love that.
We have a relationship. Yeah. And by the way, I used to, this is funny. I would tell people this early on at Quest when we started having some success, and sometimes I would run into a pretty high influential person. I'd give them some product and say, "Oh, I'm going to do a post for you." And I said, "No. Listen," I said, you saw the movie Fight Club, right? Mm-hmm. And you remember the first rule of Fight Club?
Don't talk about Fight Club.
And I literally would say this to some of the biggest names in the world, and they say, "No, come on, you're kidding." I go, No, don't talk about us. The next day I'd wake up and there'd be a friggin' post. "Hey, Bruce, thanks a lot for the product." And but because you know what, to me, it's the worst thing in the world, and I don't care what other people say.
Right.
Nothing worse than receiving something from someone and then they ask you to do something in return. One of my favorite things, and I said this even when I speak in public, bringing value to other people with no expectations is the best feeling for me. It's the greatest, and it's come back tenfold on me.
Yeah.
I help people, giving some advice where I probably going to charge them, and sometimes it goes nowhere, and then sometimes you call them back and says, "Dude, like, you changed my life. Can I retain you or whatever?" So I just think if people had that mindset of what can I do to help you first, it's going to come back tenfold.
Dude, I love that. We spent the better part of the morning filming just free stuff that we can give to people to help them kind of escalate in the process of getting good enough on camera to where they've got the deal flow to be able to pay our company. Because it's like, there's no reason for me. And I love how you said, get the product in everybody's hands. We've got this little workbook that's free that you can, I'm like about to put all this stuff out. We're filming all the promos and all this today for all of this. And I'm like, oh my gosh, we're doing a lot of things right. Hey, take this free social authority workbook so that you can at least get started with your camera. It's got all the 5 steps that you need to do to get started for free. And if you need help, hire us. Book a consultation call.
And then they're going to turn around and say, "Hey, we want your service. We got this little nugget and we've learned some stuff, but I don't have the bandwidth to do this, Pat. Can you do it for me?"
This one video we posted got 10,000 views. We need it every day. Yeah. We need it twice a day.
Yeah, that just seemed to work for us. I mean, we don't lean heavily in social media, but it's more the relationships we have. Yes, I know we need social media for sure.
Right. But just giving that to people is smart. Even if they don't want to use it. Hey, my buddy Pat does social media and it's not for me, but he's like giving this PDF file away.
Right, I mean, right, exactly. And then
he's on stage. You might as well try some of this shit.
Yeah, exactly. It seems to be working for him.
Yeah.
And the other thing I tell people, no matter how far you are in your journey, I think people lose sight. You always need to be obsessed with your customers
Mm,
and not your competition. Do you know how many people I talk to? Oh, I just saw someone just started another protein
who
company. And
cares?
I use Jocko. I go, great, that's great.
Yeah,
Well, aren't you worried about competition? No, that's great.
right.
Why? I don't care about competition. I care about my customers. And if you and the people, if you're obsessed with your customers, they're not going to leave for someone else doing what you do. They're going to be like, Pat's loyal to me, Bruce's loyal to me, the brand's loyal to me.
Right.
I get notes from them. I get random messages. It's like weird. Like I'm on Pat's thread and he sends out some cool thing about it. He's playing the guitar and it's fun. And man, that's why I like that guy.
Right.
And they're going to remember that even if someone else comes, hey, I could do it better, bigger, stronger, faster. That's cool, but I'm loyal to these guys because they care about me.
Right, because yeah, there's always going to be everybody's already looking at how do we do this pastry thing or brownie thing or cookie
Oh, for
thing.
sure. God,
And by the
listen.
way, folks, you probably will appreciate me saying this. You go into the cookie section and you pick up one of those protein cookies and you look at how much added sugar is in some of those protein cookies. And then you compare the protein label of sugar, added sugar, and carbohydrates of some of those cookies. We won't name their names. Two legendary brands, because I've done this before and I know Bruce and I love his product. And there is absolutely no comparison of which one has less calories, more protein, and less sugar and added sugar than the other one. The legendary brand is a way healthier choice than almost anything in that aisle at a Vitamin
Thank you.
Shop
Yeah,
or a
it's true.
GNC or a Quick Trip or wherever you're at.
And believe me, we pay attention to what's
It's a
going on, what
fact.
people, and we try and make it the cleanest. And sometimes,
It's
it's even
clean.
surprising. We sometimes get stuff, and I think it's to the finish line, and Ron's like, "No, it's not good enough. Let's just shelf it." Wow, okay. So yeah, but yeah, paying attention to your customers is paramount. I don't care how big you get. Pay attention to your
Yeah, the
customers.
customer wins. And that's why I think it's important. And this has been such a good conversation because, like, you get to a point where you're doing some stuff and, like, you want to have a community and this and that. And it's like the community needs to be just built around people that get results putting in the work for free. If they
Yeah,
get work results from the workbook that they downloaded from our website, then that's a customer too. Regardless of whether they paid
absolutely.
for not, that's an ebook customer that got results. That's a
Yeah, exactly.
testimonial. That's someone that we made an impact on their business. So I love this conversation of it's not about how do I sell the service more. It's how do I get the ebook in everybody's hands so they get results anyway. How do I get
And
the
then they're going to call. They're
pastry
going
in
to.
my hand? They're going to buy it anyway.
Yeah, they're going to become a customer. Same thing in your business. You know, it's a proven model. It's not. There's no trickery. There's no magic. It's like, hey, here, I want to help you out.
And that's exactly what
They're
we're
gonna.
doing today. I love the fit. This is
Yeah,
so perfect. I love that. By the way, I'll put the free ebook in the comments section when I'm done with the stream.
yeah, yeah.
But that's so good. So if you're a beginner, let's say you are seeing something like this and maybe you've been to an event or you've seen a couple speakers or you follow Gary Vee or whatever, and you're like, gosh, I'm working at, I don't know, the grocery store like all of us have. I was a meat man. So if you
Right,
work at
right.
a grocery store, welcome to the club. We've all done it. I've bagged groceries, cut meat in the deli, packed meat in the
Really?
steak session, packed meat in the seafood section, then sang at the bar at night. I've scraped sand tracks during the day and sang at the bar at night. I've knocked out walls and sang at the bar at
My
night. I mean,
my
if I'm going to make an extra buck, I mean, you got to do what you got to do sometimes. It's not like I'm
yeah, yeah.
immune from doing shitty jobs. We've all had to do it.
My first job, I moved into my little hometown of High Bridge, New Jersey, population 2,000 people. The A&A market, named after Arnold and Albert Gaspari, were immigrants from Italy. I was a stock boy. And
There
then
you
once
go.
they felt comfortable, then I was cutting meat. And what they used to do back east, because then during deer hunting season, at night they would shut down and clean, uh, make venison, clean up the deer.
Yep.
And I learned all these things. It was probably the most eye-opening life lesson to work for these two immigrant brothers because they didn't cut you any slack,
Yep.
and but I worked my ass off, and then I realized, man, this is how you make the American dream. Like I could do great things, you know? And they also trust. It was crazy. Their mother ran the register, and I would sometimes grab a Coke, and she put it in an IOU book. And on Friday, when they paid me cash, which was like $3 an hour, they say you owe me, and it was all an honor system and integrity. But I learned so much from them. Like to this day, like I think about them.
Dude, that's awesome. And again, all those little gigs that I did, there were lessons I learned. I mean, to scrape sand traps before you got to go to audio school, you got to be up at like 4:30 in the morning, and then you got to be at the school by 9, and then you get off class at 1, and then you got to go do this, and you got to go do that, and you got to a studio session at night. Like for me to get to a point where I know how to run all this gear and stream live and record and chop it all up and post it, it took years. And so like you said, when someone's like, oh, we got a new I'm a social media agency owner now. I'm like, oh, okay. Welcome to the fucking workload, bro. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right?
Pile on 15 people that you have to post every day for. And then, you know, you won't be celebrating with your Starbucks at the open workplace. You'll be busting your ass. And that's what you pray for. I think a lot of times people get busy and they want to, like you said, they want to off-source the work. And it's like, I can't. People pay for my edge, my experience, my style, my way of communicating on stage. Same reason why Legendary wants you is because you did the Quest thing.
Yeah.
They're not going to get Joey bags off the side of the street to market this product and take it to another $1 billion valuation.
Yeah. Well, you know, I call it pride and ownership. And one thing I use a word that I didn't coin it. It's a real word, but not entrepreneur, but intrapreneur. Early days of Quest, the guys, we started, and they had a pretty candid conversation with me because I was just helping them for free. I had, you know, these relationships. And Ron said, listen, I've got 99 problems, as every business owner does. Just help keep problems off my plate. And he said, we're a new company. Whatever you need me to do. So I built out the events department, the ambassador program. I started traveling. I traveled 40 weekends a year for 4 years straight because no one else wanted to. And I saw the opportunity and I thought, well, shit, I need to prove myself. I'm playing golf with Vitamin Shop Chairman. I'm going to GNC for dinners and no one wanted to do this, but I was establishing these relationships and literally people thought I was the founder based on me being at every event everywhere in the country. And it just kept going. And even when, I discovered it's crazy early on, I don't remember what year it was, but someone in Tony Robbins' camp liked Quest bars. And they reached out to us and said, we'd love to have you do one of our events. So I showed up the event. I heard about it, but I'd never been to one of those events. But that opened up my whole experience. So we provided bars to all the attendees. And
nice.
I had a light bulb moment. I said, this whole, what's it called? You know, personal development space, if you want to call it, right? And then all of a sudden I saw, Ed Milet's doing an event, Bedros is doing an event, and I said, hey guys, can I come to your event? I'll bring product. They're like, sure. And next thing you know, I'm backstage meeting, even before you, meeting these people. And I said, here's really our audience. These guys are changing the world. They're letting me sometimes, because I'm a sponsor technically, they'll let me go up even for 30 seconds. They'll call me up from the stage. Hey, tell us about Legendary. And it's all because I kept showing up and bringing product to them there was no charge. I mean, I just wanted them to have product, and it just evolved to now, like, we're kind of known in this whole speaker circle,
Well, yeah, and that was a smart move because the people in the personal development space, speakers, coaches, consultants, they're all looking to eat better and they're moving very, very quickly. So they need stuff that is either prep, like Chris Cavallini from Nutrition Solutions. Over the next 3 to 5 years, more and more people are going to switch to automated meal service.
Yeah, for sure.
And then same
100%.
thing with your guys' stuff. They're just going to get on a subscription. I want the donuts and I want the pastries every month. And then we'll pay Pat. Pat's going to post all our shit on social media. He sends me the scripts. I film once a month. And then it's like, I know all this stuff's going to go out. Now I can go focus on what you're telling people, going out and building real connections. Because with AI and all these things that we can use to amplify our connections, well, what connections are we amplifying? This is where people get confused about AI. AI only amplifies what you already are or what you are becoming. It's based on what already happened.
Yeah, and I got to tell you, it doesn't. There's nothing better. I don't care how many generations go by. Getting out and seeing someone in person is still that's really an authentic relationship.
And that is going to
You could
become more and more valuable as these AI robots continue to integrate with businesses and with
yeah
closing deals and wire transfers and all this stuff. As it starts to become easier and easier to do all these things that were such a big, huge pain in the ass, what it's going to
yeah
do is it's going to make it easier for people like us to build more connections faster and more efficiently. Whereas the people that aren't looking outside themselves are going to become more closed in, more depressed, and less successful. It's sad, but it's true. The people that
yeah
use
for
these
sure.
tools to get out there and to connect with the world are going to win. And the people that use these tools to lock themselves in a closet are just going to be self-destructing.
Yeah, I do want to share some switching gears a little bit because it just came to my mind. It's important because I will run into people and they'll say, "Oh, you got lucky with Quest. I don't have the same opportunities. Because a lot of kids always have excuses, right?" And I said,
Oh, yeah.
let me just tell you this. I was in my 40s when I met Shannon in the gym. I was the least qualified person to be in the nutrition space other than I worked out.
Right.
I said, but I showed up and brought value. And I told this kid, this is a really quick story, but people are not willing to show up and do things for free. So I'm talking to this kid about, yeah, you want to go work at this company? It was a music company.
Okay.
He says, well, I got this idea, like this digital idea, like Napster back in the day had. I said, okay, well, and he goes, I can't get a meeting. I'm 20 years old. They won't take a meeting. They won't take me serious. They won't even return my calls. I said, where do you want to go? Where do you want to go? He said, Sony Music has a really cool, this is, by the way, years ago this happened. I said, go to Sony Music and say, I'll work for free. I'll work for free for 6 months. And if you I'll work in the mailroom for whatever. I don't care where in this building. I want to just get in. I'll work for free for 6 months. And if you like what I've done in 6 months, maybe you'll hire me. He says, I can't afford to do that. I
Then
said,
you can't afford
not
to win. You can't afford to win.
And because he was getting ready to go back home to Minnesota because his mom says, hey, you gave it the California dream and you're not making it. I said, I don't care if you got to work at Starbucks at 5 a.m. to 9 a.m. and do a shift and then go to or work a night shift. But, and so he ended up taking my advice. I didn't actually talk to him again. It's crazy. He did that. I didn't know what he did. He went to the label. I ran into him. I'm not exaggerating, Pat, at the last Super Bowl that was in Los Angeles, which was two Super Bowls
Yeah,
ago.
with Dr. Dre.
12 years had passed. I'm in the suite with one of my clients doing protection with some NFL owners. I feel like someone's looking at me. It's one of those, the stadium where the glass is between all the suites, so you
Sometimes
can
it
see what your
feels
neighbors.
like somebody's watching me.
Yeah. We get a knock on the suite door, and one of the security guys said, "Hey, Bruce, there's someone here to see you." I step out in the hallway. I immediately recognize his face, but I didn't remember who. And he goes, and he reached his hand, and he goes, "We met, 12 years ago. You gave me that advice on Sony Music."
Wow.
I go, "Oh shit!" And he gives me a big hug, and I'm feeling awkward. He goes, "Dude, it was the best advice I got." He goes, I did the internship. They didn't really have a job for me at the end, but I learned everything I needed to know. And I went to another label and got a job in their marketing department. He goes, but fast forward, he goes, the box I'm in, I own that box. I go, that's cool. How'd that play? He goes, I started my own digital version of music, like Napster. I don't know what it's called, but he said, I now have contracts with music companies. And he goes, I'm humbly saying I'm a multimillionaire. He goes, but because you told me to go be an intern, he goes, I
Wow.
was ready to go. I was good. So I tell people this. If you want to work at a company, listen, I know you don't have openings. Can I do it? Can I do a free internship? Let me show you what I can bring to the company. But people right away, and it happens because I sit in some of these interviews, we get them right out of college. They come in with this resume, which is all lies anyway, right? And they
Yeah.
say, hey, I want to be the director of marketing at $175,000 a year. And it's funny because when in the middle of the interview, they'll text me and say, can you come into this interview? And I'll sit down and say, oh, this is so-and-so wants to be the director of marketing. I said, that's great. Hey, Bruce, can you tell him, how long did you work for free for us? I'll say, oh, 9 months, no pay. And now all of a sudden you see the look on the applicant's face like, oh, shit, like what? Because they think I need to start at $175,000. I have no experience. But instead of saying, let me come in and prove myself, let me show you what value I have, people are just not are willing to do that.
Well, and guess
and I'm not
what?
saying,
Companies
yeah,
aren't willing to pay you that. So if you're coming
Exactly.
hot out of
Yeah.
college and you have no experience, you're eventually going to be going toe to toe with somebody that does. No one cares
Yeah,
where
exactly.
you went to school. No one cares about what it says on that piece of paper, because when you step in the ring, you're either going to deliver or you're not.
Exactly.
This is the
Exactly.
real
Yep.
world, man. And as someone, I don't have some kind of fancy degree. My sister went to like WashU. She's like a professor at WashU. She's
Right.
fucking brilliant. I'm like, I went to this sound school in Arizona. But hey, the sound school in Arizona taught me everything I needed to know about audio so that I could go work in the industry I wanted to be successful in. And one of my competitive advantages is I know how to run the entire event that I'm on stage speaking at, which is part of the reason why I'm not just an MC. I'm way more of a production director and way more of a stage manager than anything. Yeah, I make cool announcements, but keeping the thing on time and all of that kind of stuff, that's production manager work. I do that at the same time. And I can run the camera and I can run the mic. So it's like I'm able to integrate with a lot of different teams and not step on people's toes that that's their task, but assist them so that we're competitive. Because when you integrate with marketing teams all over the country, it's like we have to come into somebody's company and not piss people off that already have jobs. Because we're not here to take your job. We're just here to make your job easier. That's it.
Exactly.
We're not here to take anybody's gig. We're here to make everybody more efficient, make everybody more money, get us the views we need and the client acquisition we need from social media, and stay the hell out of your face.
Absolutely.
And so it's like the more efficient we can be about explaining what we do. I think the other thing is people don't know what they do or what they sell. You ask somebody what they do and they're like, yeah, I do some fix and flip and, I wholesale a little bit and, like commercial. We definitely do commercial. We want more commercial deals. And it's like, are you a real estate investor? Like what?
Yeah.
What? What are you talking about?
You don't really always get it. I sometimes when people start saying all those things, I'll say, hey, dude, how do you pay your rent? What's the source of income? Like what? Oh, you didn't ask that. Oh, well, here. And then the narrative changes. Oh, I work at Starbucks, but I flip houses on the side. Okay.
Right.
No,
which is fine.
But I hear that all the time. But I like to cut to the chase of, great, you have all these ambitions. You want to be a music writer, but how are you paying the bills now?
How are you going to get there?
Because then I can help you.
Yes.
Oh, great. You're working at Starbucks. Great. The minute you get off your shift, are you working on your lyrics? Are you working on being a better person? Are you finding people like Pat to say, I want to learn the industry? Can I go sit next to a sound engineer at an event and say, can I just sit here and learn from you? But oh no, I don't know. I'm going to eventually get to that. Well, what are you waiting for?
Eventually turns into no results.
And then life is past. So you only have one shot.
Yeah, and I think that now, like, I don't know how old you are. I don't even really care. But back in the day, there was no access to tools like this. You couldn't just do a live streaming interview worldwide with Pat Hilton 20 years ago.
Nothing.
Dude, we had like MySpace
nothing.
20 years ago, and it was freaking revolutionary.
I got to tell you, even when Quest started, the year Quest started, the only thing was in social media was Facebook. No Instagram, no Twitter, no X, nothing. LinkedIn hadn't started yet. So, and that was initially when it was just kind of blogs.
Yep.
So there's always an evolution. And I know sometimes it's hard for me to comprehend. I'll be like, I remember I used to not have a cell phone, but I can't imagine it now. But you'd go home and check your answering machine. Like, Pat's trying to get a hold of me.
Yeah, I'd sing songs in people's answering machines for sure.
Yeah, but we evolved, but people get so addicted to certain things. Sometimes you just got to get down to brass tacks, and it's about building relationships, authentic relationships. I told you about the internship. During Quest, we would bring interns in, for college credits and write letters, and it was always cool. So one young lady came in. She was an intern at a department, not my department, but next door, some boring stuff, and she always stopped by and say, hey, I've been following you on social media, talk about social media. She says, and I see you're doing all these events. Is there any chance I could join you sometime? I said, sure. Like, yeah, absolutely. I said, tomorrow I'm doing a movie premiere in Hollywood. A friend of mine's producing it, but I'm going to bring by 10 gift bags specifically for the cast and crew. Can I join you? Sure. And thinking she never would, because everyone for years would be like, Bruce, can I come out and join you? And I'd say, yeah, I'm going to be going to San Diego on Saturday. Oh, it's my boyfriend's birthday. It's my girlfriend's this. It's a
Oh yeah.
okay, cool. But I'd still be gracious and offer, right? She showed up at this premiere, helped set up the bags, and was like, very help. You need me to take pictures, Bruce, and she's really helpful. And so we got done, and she said, "When's the next event?" I said, "Oh, Saturday. Can I come?" I'm like, "Sure." I'm thinking, is she going to really show up? She kept showing up. My point to this is, she finally left her internship at Quest, and she went on, and she's now the CMO at a publicly traded food
Oh
company,
wow.
and she rang the bell on New York Stock Exchange. She's a multimillionaire, but I remember when she got to that success, she texted me and said, "Hey, thanks for showing me the way.
Mm.
Like, thanks for allowing me to see that I had more capability than I realized." So, but that was someone that wanted to learn. Most other people always had a reason why they didn't want to go do it. So
That's it. She wanted to learn.
yeah,
That's that, maybe learn is the word I've been looking for this whole time. You have
yeah,
to be willing to learn, not only learn, but take action on what you learned. I can teach you how to film videos all day. But if you
right,
aren't posting videos and you aren't getting sales and you don't have employees in a real company, you don't qualify to work with us.
right.
You know what I mean? It's just one of those things. And so it's the
And
same thing with you guys. It's like, if you want to be in better shape and you want to eat something that's fun and fit that into your macro cycle, well, Legendary makes awesome food, but you can't just always rely on one. It's got to be a piece of your battle plan, like anything else.
Exactly. Yep.
I love it, dude. I love it.
So
So
right
if you
on.
could give people some tips on the one thing that they could do to separate themselves and to make themselves the obvious category choice, what would that be?
Um, be honest in your communication, and have integrity. And it doesn't matter where you start, just keep moving forward. I think people sometimes get paralyzed, something happens. I will tell you right now, I think right now as we are talking, it's the greatest time on earth to be an entrepreneur.
Mm.
I've read something online which they said there's more millionaires that are coming daily becoming millionaires. And I think back of God, because you could literally take a widget and pop it up on Amazon
Yep.
and name it Pat's Widget and sell it. I know kids that are, some of my young friends are like, "Oh, I made $100,000 a month." I'm like, "What?" And I'm almost like, "Well, gee, whoa, okay." But my point is, it's the greatest time on earth. If you have an idea, here's the thing: don't let your ideas die with you. Do not
Mm.
let an idea you have die. If you want to be that person, just try it. There's nothing. You know what? I learned this a while ago, and actually, I think between Bedros and you might not remember this. Even when I spoke at Bedros' event, you're like, just be yourself. I finally had to accept that it's none of my business what people think about me.
You were nervous that day.
Like
Not in a
freaking out. And
negative
then
way. You were like, yeah,
yeah,
what do you think? Like, blah, blah, blah. It wasn't that you were nervous. You were just wondering, like, okay, well, it's a big audience. How do I go over?
yeah. But my
Like,
point is this: if you're a
just do
young
you,
person,
bro. You're not here
just
because
do
you
you.
suck.
Yeah, do you, be you. But the words of advice: just step off the curb, as I say. Step off the curb and pursue whatever dream you have, and don't worry about what people think, because there are always going to be people, the naysayers, right? Especially when you get a taste of success. But don't. Steve Jobs says it best: don't live in the shadows of other people, what they care, what they think. Just do what you do,
Well, I think that
and
when
pursue
you're
it.
doing what you do, I love this, dude, because if you're doing what you do and you're moving fast enough, you don't even hear those people. Like, I
Yeah,
used to have
and there's
so much more time to analyze reactions, and now I don't. I'm just boom, 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 boom.
yeah, and as
Got to
you're
get
yeah,
busier.
it's just yeah, for sure, for sure. Stay busy and stay focused. And I listen. I've been derailed by people back in the
Of
past. I've had
course.
people sway my thought process because a girlfriend at the time this, and they have a reason why. And you know what? And now it's just like I have goals and objectives. I want people. I want loved ones in my life. I want to have great relationships. But if you're a distractor, if you're not here to support me with my dreams, maybe we shouldn't. I've had to shed some friends in the last 2 years.
Oh, yeah, of
You know,
course.
you know, and not I haven't like made a public statement about it. I just don't call them as
No, it's
much
all good. It's just time to move on.
because of kind of the comments. "Oh, you're a big shot now." No, I'm really not. I'm the same
No,
guy. I'm the same guy from New Jersey.
I'm just
I'm just
busy.
I'm busy and I'm working hard and I don't have time to
People
just,
take busyness
nonsense.
as like an insult. It's like, just because you got nothing going on doesn't mean I have to stop the whole train for you.
Exactly. So I would tell anyone, no matter where you want to start, if you have a dream or a vision, if you want to start a healthy cookie, make it in your kitchen. Get people to try it. I say, oh, by the way, don't have friends and family try it. Have random strangers try it. Have people in the room try it.
Right.
And if you think you got something there, then go to a commercial kitchen and maybe make a batch of 100 or 200 or 300 and then keep going. And next thing you know, you're in the local Whole Foods because they have a local, if you live locally, they have a local owners program. And then you're in the next place. And then you're selling the farmer's market. And then all of a sudden you're doing $100,000 a month. You're like, how the fuck did that happen? And then you're on Amazon. But everyone has these ideas and they're so worried about how do they just take the first step. And it can be pretty cost effective too.
God, just do it.
You know?
Go out there and do it and
Just do
market
it.
it and tell everybody about it and get some support and turn it into something. I love it. Ladies and gentlemen, one of the greats, one of the legends, Bruce is in the building. Make sure to add him. He is tagged on the video right here on Facebook. Lots of clips coming from this one. Bruce, thank you for your time today.
Thank you, man.
Dude, we could
I
go
appreciate
forever.
you.
We could go forever. Maybe we'll do a training in the private group there one day when it actually exists. And
love to.
I love it, man. So add him, follow him. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Social Authority with your boy Pat Hilton, and we'll see you on the next one.